Back again. So we're here. We are going to tackle the first step of this to-do app, which is the Express server, the backend. Okay, we're going to use all of our tools available to us, and we are going to try and do it in a way that uh, most developers would do it. Again, there's going to be certain things that we skip, but our goal for this video is just to get Express and some routes working. Okay, so over to my terminal. Okay, I am already in a folder, my development folder. I have a learning folder in there, and I'm going to do some stuff. Okay, you can do this inside of the Finder if you're more comfortable with that, or whatever the Windows equivalent is of the Finder. That's your choice, right? There's lots of ways to get this done. So I'm going to make a directory. That directory is going to be called To-Do App, okay? So this is where we are going to store all of that good stuff. We can now cd into that or change directory into our To-Do App, just like this. And it is empty, okay? There's nothing in here. So we need to add some stuff. Now, again, good practices. So the first thing that I like to do is set up Git, okay? We're going to be committing to Git. That means that we'll be able to roll back and forward if we needed to, right? Or we can just kill all of our changes and start from scratch. Lots of good stuff. Git is done, okay? We'll see that again in a bit. But right now, we need one more folder. And this is where our Express server is going to be. So we're going to make their backend like this. And then we cd into that backend. But before I do, I'm going to hit tab a couple times. And the reason for that is because my terminal stays in the same folder as the current one. So if I had changed directories early, then I'd currently be in my backend folder. I don't really want that. I'm not sure what's happening with this plugin. That's something that I can look at much, much later. So let's clear that for a moment and clear this. Now, as for Y3 tabs, okay, right now we're about to go into that folder. So here's backend, okay. We are now in there. You can see that with the path. But once we start running stuff, I'm going to need a way to commit, okay, to git add, git commit with a message, all that good stuff. That's why I need at least one more. And like I said in the previous video, I'm going to need a way to run the React server as well, at least in development mode. So that's this second tab, okay? We're going to have one for backend, one for front end, and one for us to commit files to. That way we don't have to stop the server, back it out, do the thing, all that good stuff, okay? Here we are. We're in the backend. So we need to set this up using NPM. My current version of NPM is 10.2. My current version of Node is 20, okay? What we do today should work in anything that is version 18 or newer, but you're going to see a few messages here that no longer exist on, say, version 22, okay? And that's a good thing. So here we go. NPM init -y, and that accepts everything. It's going to create that file for us. Brilliant. While we're here, we're going to npm I for install, like this. And usually I do use an I, which is why I said npm I, but npm install express, okay? The shorter one works just as well as the longer one. So now I can open this in VS Code, and I have their command line tool here. So code dot opens that into the place that I need it, okay? It's not quite, actually. I wanna back this out because right now I'm just in that backend folder, and it says backend up here. But what I really want is to be in my to-do app folder so that I can see everything as we go. So I'm gonna close this for a second. This one can go as well. That's not a problem. That's just an old page. I'm going to go over to one of these other tabs, right, where I'm in the root folder right here. And I'm going to run that same command. And now we can see that it says to-do app here, and I have a folder called backend. If I open this wider, Explorer to-do app. Inside of there, I have that backend and some files, okay? Node modules, we never touch. Package lock, we never touch. These are generated by NPM for us, okay? But package.json, we absolutely do. So inside of here, we're going to change this name to be to-do backend. Down here, we can get rid of description and main. We aren't going to use those, as well as keywords, author, and license. We don't really need those on this one. If you were doing this professionally, you'd probably want some sort of a license. That way people aren't stealing your work. This is just a toy app, and you'll hear me say that a few times. So we're just going to pretend that that's okay, okay? And of course, because I'm doing it in a video, you can kind of just steal the code anyway, right? Whatever suits you. Please don't steal the code. Try to do at least something a little bit different. The last thing that I'm going to add in here is private true. And private true is strictly so that later on when we're actually running git commands and npm commands, it doesn't scream at me that it's missing like a repo key, right? I could go and add repo, I think. Where is it here? Repository, which will have information on where this exists on the web. I'm not actually going to push anything during these videos, but this will save me from having to see those messages, okay? So there we are. Our next step is to get the server, right? We've installed Express. We have NPM something or other in here. We need a server. So inside of this backend folder, I can create a new file and call it server.js, okay? And what goes in here? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my browser, Chrome, and I'm just going to go to Express.js like this, and that hello world example. Hopefully it's right there. If it's not, you can get it under getting started hello world. And now we can just grab all of this code. So we go up here, copy it to my clipboard, go back, paste it right in. So we are requiring Express, setting up the Express app, the port. For backends, I like to use 8000. That's just a preference. That way in my head, I know one's a front end, one's a back end. 3000 for front end, 8000 for back end. Doesn't really matter. That's just a preference, okay? Save it, and now we can run it, okay? So way back in terminal, we run node server.js and hit enter. Oh, we have an error. What is it? It is something. Very simple mistake. I'm in the wrong folder, right? All this stuff should happen on my backend tab. So node server.js, okay? It says it's running on port 8000. So if I go back to Chrome, open a new tab, I could have used the same one, but leave it there as reference, okay? Localhost 8000, you'll see that I've already done this a little bit, but going all the way back to the root, and I get hello world. This is great. We already have the server running, okay? We're going to add more to this, obviously, a lot more, but for now, it works. The problem is that we are currently in production mode, which means that any changes to this don't happen. And what I mean by that is I go over here and I hit a whole bunch of these and I hit save, go back to Chrome, refresh, hit that refresh button. Nothing is changing because what Express will do, and probably Node as a whole, is it will bring all those files in and then run them as it sees them. Now with a database, that's different because the database gets changed. The actual production code for JavaScript doesn't change, right? It's just talking to the backend. It's just talking to the database. So we need to do a little extra work here. But before that, we should probably commit, okay? So way back over here, we have all that good stuff. We're going to go to our third tab because I have one, and I'm going to go git status, okay? Now it says backend, because I'm in the root app. If I was way over here, you'll see that it gives me a very different message. Let's back this up just a little. There we go. So it gives me a different message, // because it's trying to tell me where these folders are relative to where I am, which is why I really, really want to be in this root folder when I do this. That way I can just get a clear feel for what's going on. Okay. Now I'm going to do something, and I would like you to not do what I'm about to do. I'll tell you when to start typing again, but right now I'm going to git add dot. Do not do this because it's going to make a mess, and we're going to have to back it out, and I'll show you exactly what that means. Okay. So if I hit status, I get all of these files, and you'll notice that some of them are node modules. Now, committing anything inside of the node modules is always a bad deal. Okay. That's because all of this code comes from somewhere else. Somebody else wrote this for us. We don't want this in our repo. Instead, we want to be able to call that from wherever it came from whenever we need it. Okay. If it's already on the internet, we can get it back again. So this is a bad time. Now, thankfully, we do have the files we need. And way up here, if we scroll right to the top of this, if you actually did hit enter, you will see a command. Okay. Use git rm -- cached to unstage. So we can grab this, copy it, go all the way back down, paste it in. We need one more because it's in folders, right? We have backend/. Okay. So we need one more flag on here, which is the -r, which is for recursive. Okay. And then we want every file and folder. That's what the dot means. We do this, we get a whole bunch of stuff, but now we are back to where we were. Okay. So we don't want those node modules, which means that we need to be over here. We need to add a new file, and it should be in this root folder. Okay. So new file, we could have used this icon as well, but it should be dot gitignore. That name is important. Do not change it to something else. It does have to be .gitignore because that way it's telling Git to ignore whatever you put in here. For us, we want node_modules like this. You'll notice that I didn't put a path on there. So by not putting a path on there, I'm telling it that if it finds a node modules anywhere inside of our package, whether it's the backend, the front end, or somewhere else, we don't care. Don't add it. I don't want to see it. Don't commit it. Okay. So save that. We go back to the terminal, git status one more time, just like this. We now have that .gitignore, but now if we do add all and git status one more time, you're going to see that it's a lot less files. It's only the files that we need because our package JSON and our package lock JSON will get all of those node modules files for us. Okay. Whoops. Let's commit it. -m. We're going to go, this is a chore for the backend, which is initial commit for backend. Okay. Boom. It's done. Now we can start to add stuff. And what I mean by that is let's go and add, we don't need this anymore, but let's go and add an easier way to start this up. And while we're at it, we will add a way to start it up in development mode so that any changes we have in here will actually be shown. Okay. So in our package.json, you'll notice that I did not delete the scripts folder. It has that test file, doesn't really do anything. We are going to change this now. And what we're going to do is we're going to delete it and put start. Okay. Start is always kind of a default command that most of these apps will have. Inside of here, everything in double quotes, not single quotes, please. Very important. Everything in double quotes. We typed that same command. So it was node server.js. Okay. We also want another one for dev or development mode. I like to call it dev. That's what I've seen on a lot of the projects that I work on. And we do kind of the same thing. Okay. We type server.js. It's that red underline is because there's no final comma. So everything looks good. This is kind of silly though, because we have the exact same command, right? It's doing the exact same thing, okay? But we'll come back to this in a second. So over to the terminal, over to that very first tab where we were here. And instead of node server, we can just go npm run start. Or you might have seen it as npm start. This is the only one of the few commands where you don't need run. But npm run start will do the exact same thing. It says it's running node server. It's listening on port 8000. We go back to the browser. We hit refresh. We get everything. Again, we can't update this, but we're very close. Now, how do we get our development server working? Well, there is a package out there, and it's over on npm.js dot something. What is it? .com. Okay. It is called nodemon. Okay, not for monster, for monitor. Right. It's a simple monitor for development. And what you do is you can configure this and do a lot of really cool stuff with this. Okay. You install it, usually as a dev dependency. And then all you would need to do is, if we did that, is replace this with nodemon, and it would just work. Okay. But that's a lot more than we actually need for this app. So I'm not going to install that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it as Node. And ever since version 18 of Node, we've had access to something called -- watch, which does exactly the same as what we need nodemon to do. Now, I want to preface that or add to that by saying nodemon has a lot of power. If there are extra features that you need, you might have to install nodemon. But for this little app that we're doing, we don't need any of that. Okay. So -- watch is going to do everything that we need it to. We can save that. And now if we go back here, we can shut down the server and go npm run dev. At this point, we are going to get an experimental warning. This does not happen in version 22 of Node. This is just older versions because they were still trying to get the right syntax. They have since settled on -- watch. So if you're using a newer version of Node, you might not see this, and that's a good thing. Okay. We're still listening on port 8000. So if we go back to the browser and back to our tab, let's move this one over so we have them in order. Everything is good. If I go to here and slide this sideways, you will see that I can save this. Now, you aren't going to say anything, but something changed in the browser. Okay. There was a lot of output here, and it said restarting, which means that now if we go to the browser and hit refresh, all those things are gone. Okay. Maybe make this just a little bit bigger. We can do that. Again, maybe some question marks just to make it different. Refresh. Now we have a good development experience. Now, since we're here, hey, let's commit, right? Let's go over here, git status. We have two different files. If we check those using git diff, we can see that we added our development scripts and we updated this send. Okay. Kind of simple stuff, but git add dot, git commit. This one, it's always tricky deciding where it lands, but I feel like this should probably be on build for the backend. And inside of there, it's add dev script. Okay, good. Okay, so where are we? We need to start adding endpoints, which means that we are at the point where we can start doing stuff inside of here. Okay. We've set up all of our development environments. We've added some folders, that gitignore, it's all in there. Okay. And now we are going to start doing some work. Whoops, jumping around. So let's send the first API route, which was API to-dos, right? That's what we're doing here. So right over here, I'm going to copy and paste this because why not? Copy and pasting works. The only challenge there is that we need to be sure to change everything that we need, okay? And then, of course, we go hello to-dos like this. Maybe clean some of this stuff out. Whoops. And for some reason, it got rid of quotes, and that, I think we are there, okay? So we added this route. We can go back to here, and inside of the address, we go /API/todos, just like I've done a couple times before, and it says hello todos, okay, with 2 exclamation marks. Great, we have it. But I want to send JSON, right? I'm not sending HTML through the browser, at least not yet. I want to send JSON. I want to send only data. So this doesn't really help me. Instead, what I probably should do is I should grab this message, cut it, and add an object, okay? And then inside of there, I might have, say, message with that string. In fact, I might just put the method of get, okay? Underline means I'm missing something. It's the comma. And if I try to send this, it will break because it's sending a string, okay? Instead, I want to change this to JSON just like this. Save that, going all the way back, refreshing, and here we are, okay? We can pretty print this, so it's easy to scan through, but here we go, right? We are getting JSON data, okay? We should probably add another one, so let's go do that really fast. Copy this again, paste it down. This one's going to be for ID. So when we want to pass in a unique slug or an ID or something in the route, we use a colon, okay? And that becomes kind of a variable name that we can grab. So way over here, I can go const ID equals rect params ID. This ID is matched to this. This can actually be anything, okay? So long as it matches here, okay? That seems kind of silly, just doing random names. ID is probably what you want, or maybe slug is very common. If you're doing months and days, right? Pick the name that is right. Then we have that ID. We can shove it down here like this. ID is, ID, which means that this is all the same stuff, okay? So save that, back to the browser. Right here, instead of to-dos, we want to-do / and you've seen that I've been just button mashing, okay? But we get the ID, the method, and that message still, okay? In fact, we could go one further, grabbing this out, cutting it, and right here, pasting it back inside of backticks, which means that I can interpolate that variable into it, okay? So one more time, refreshing this, and now we get that ID inside of the string, okay? It's the same thing right there. Good time to commit, right? Let's go and do that. Jumping over here, git status, git diff to see all the changes we made, which is exactly that, okay? So let's go here, git add dot, git commit. This is a feature for the backend, and we add get routes, okay? Brilliant. There it is. At this point, we need to change because Google Chrome is not going to help us. And what I mean by that is if we go to our code, okay, and we copy and paste this down. Now we want to start doing our post request, okay? That's going to be a post. There's not going to be an ID, so that's going to be there. Maybe we can just dummy this up a little bit, okay? We'll just add it in, okay? And then this params isn't going to be there, which means that now we need to figure out how to get data in, okay? It's not going to come through the URL. It's going to come through something called the body. So update this a little bit more because I'm getting ahead of myself right there. And yeah, we have to do, and that's going to be on the body. So the request is going to have a body right there. And in that body object is going to be to do. That's what we're going to do here. This is not going to do anything, okay? But this gets us on the path. Right here, I should probably add that. Good, okay? This gets us on the path. So again, Chrome is not going to help us, which means that we need to go to a different app. And that app is, for me, Bruno. Now, if you have Postman installed, if you have Insomnia installed, you can keep using those. The difference with those is that now you need to log in. With Bruno, you don't, at least for the time being. And the nice thing about Bruno that we'll see in a second here is that it saves to files that you can commit. And then anyone that pulls down your stuff can open that into Bruno and get the exact same stuff. So they're already off to the races without having to create this 100,000 times, okay? Create that collection. We're going to call it to-do app. The location is going to be, yes, it actually found my to-do app, which is brilliant. We open that, and this name is not really useful. This is going to be a folder inside of this path. So I like to call it Bruno, just to make it clear what that is. Right there, we have that. If we go and look at our folder, we actually do have a bruno.json, right? Not a lot of useful stuff in here yet, but you're going to see a few extra files added to this as we carry on, okay? So let's go do that right now. We're going to add a new request. Yes, the name is going to be get to-dos, okay? Bruno is a little bit funny here. With Insomnia and Postman, we're usually able to use the same name repeatedly. Bruno does not allow that. So I usually preface it with the method just to help me when it's over here. It's a pretty cool graphic over here. You'll see in a second, but this just keeps things clean, okay? Back over here, I'm going to grab this URL and paste it in. Now, it wasn't a number, it was to-dos, okay? We create that right there, we fire it, and we get our information, okay? Let's go and add another one. So right here, the name is going to be get to-do, singular. Paste that in, the number is perfect, let's do that. If we fire this off, we get our unique to-do, okay? Now, once more, going through, there's going to be a lot of this, okay? But this time we're going to use post. So we're going to use post over here. There is no ID. We create it. If we fire this, this is not going to do anything for us because we need that body, okay? So you go and find this body, you go and change it to JSON, and now we can type that in there. We used to do as our key, and we can type whatever we want in here, maybe buy milk, okay? Again, this is not going to work. It's going to break. And what it's going to say is it really can't find that, because what is happening is once it gets into the server, once it gets over here, it's reading body as a string, okay? Not as a JSON object, not as a JavaScript object, but as a string. And so we kind of need a way to pull this apart. And what we do is we add our first middleware. So way up here, right behind this, we add in app.use. App.use is our way to use middleware, okay? It used to be that we would use something called body parser. So back into Chrome, over to NPM, we search for body parser. Should be, where's it hiding? I was almost certain that that would do it. I must be missing something. Maybe there's a space in there. Yeah, forgot the dash. So body parser is a middleware that you can put into Express, right? It's actually included as Express, right? Express/body parser. But now, because it's so popular, because everyone uses it, they've just made it a part of Express itself. So you don't need to download this anymore. You don't need to install it. You can actually just go back to your code and type express.json. Okay. This .json is very different than this .json. Please be aware of that. This one is on the response. This one is on Express itself. Okay. And what it's going to do is every time it runs into a route, it's going to test to see if there's a body. So way down here, we have that body. And then it's going to test that body to see if it translates to JSON. And if it does, then it's going to do exactly that before it passes into this function. Once here, now this body is a JavaScript object, and we can get stuff off of it. So I haven't changed anything about this route. I only added this line. Going back to Bruno, hitting it one more time, and it works, right? Buy milk, brilliant. Okay. So lots of stuff. Woo, right? We added our first middleware. We added the post. It's all in there. We have a bunch of stuff untracked inside of this Bruno folder. Probably a good time to commit. Let's go do that. Over to that third tab, get status, Bruno and the backend. Check the backend just to be sure. Yeah, that's what we added, right? So git add dot, git commit -m. This is another feature for the backend. If I could type backend, there it is. And this is add post route. Okay. You can change that if you feel you need more detail, but that's all I need for this. Okay. Okay. It's a lot. I realize it's a lot, but this is where we start. We just keep building out these routes. So the next one is right here. Whoops. We need a put for to-dos, right? Put to-do and a delete to-do. Well, the put to-do is going to use both the ID and the body. The delete to-do is only going to use the ID, right? And it's going to send back nothing. Very interesting stuff. But right now, you actually have everything that you need to go and do this on your own. So if you wanted to, and I strongly encourage it, go and give this a try right now. I will wait. Maybe pause it first. Did you? Did you do it? It's okay if you didn't. We're going to keep going, okay? So right in here, I'm going to copy and paste post, just like this, and replace it here, okay? Post turns into put. This turns into put as well, okay? Maybe capitalized just to keep it all the same. And now we're getting that request.body, but we're getting more stuff off of it, right? Instead, we are, what are we doing here? We're getting, it can be to do for now. Yeah, we can leave it there. So if we send that through, we also need the ID. So let's go and get that. Again, just a little bit of copy and paste, copy it, paste it right here in the right spot. Excellent, okay. We didn't actually get that from anywhere. Let's go and add that onto the end of the ID. So we have ID, we have to do. We can replace this with ID again and save it. Hopefully, if we've done this, we should be able to send a request with a body object and an ID, and it should return this object. Okay, let's go do that. Back into Bruno. Right here, copy this. This one's going to be put to do. Moving all the way down, pasting this in, adding that number. There it is. Creating it. We have that. We do need the body. Let's go and add the body right here. We have JSON. For now, we're just using to do. We'll probably change that later. It does need to be in quotes. And this one can stay as buy milk. Again, we're probably going to change that later. But send it. We get that ID. We get the put. We get the buy milk. This is working. Okay. If you see this little dot here, that means that this is not saved. So let's go and do that and commit. Way back here, git status, git add dot, git commit -m, giving it a useful name, add put route. Okay, good. Delete. Let's go do delete really fast. Now, for me, I think delete doesn't need any sort of a response. Okay, I think if you're deleting something, all you need is the status code to tell you that it went through okay. And thankfully, the status codes give us an option for that. So we get that ID. We no longer have a body. So let's get rid of all of that. And in fact, all of this goes away because we aren't returning anything. In fact, it's just going to be send. Now, we haven't actually added any status codes, but by default, you can sandwich that right in between these. Don't forget that dot. Thank you very much. And again, by default, it is 200. Okay, 200 assumes that you are sending something back as data, but we can change this to 204. 204 means no content. Okay. So again, back over to Bruno. We're going to grab this URL one more time. This is going to be delete to do. Paste it in, change it to delete. This can be a completely different number, just to be sure. And now if I send this, I should get something that is broken. Did I not save it? Oh, because I copy and paste. Here's the danger in copy and paste, okay? I did not change the method, so it was still looking to do a put. This is very much not a put, so here we go. 204, no content. Okay, we are almost there. We're almost done this section, okay? We're going to go and commit because we made a good change. Git add dot, git commit -m. It is a feat for backend. Add delete route, if I could type. Excellent. Okay. I want to do just a little bit of cleanup to wrap up this section, and then we are done this video. Okay. And the cleanup I want is right here. All of these methods currently live inside of server.js. Normally that's not a bad deal because we only have a handful. But if we did want to add auth later on, we might have /API/users, or if we had product /API/product /API/store, all these different routes, okay? Which means that it can get very messy in a hurry. What I like to do is I like to separate these into their own file. So I'm going to copy this to my clipboard, okay? In backend, I'm going to create a new folder, call it source. And inside of that source, a new folder called routes, in case I decide to add more later. And inside of here, I'm going to add our todo.js routes, okay? Paste all that in. Excellent. We need to import Express. We need to import Express. So const express equals require express. Excellent. Okay. And then off of express, we need to grab something called the router. Okay. So the router is here, and we get that from express dot capital R router is exactly right. Okay. Just like that. So now we have this router. We've created a unique router that we can import or bring into the server and use it. Of course, we need to use it here as well. So all of these, I can do multiple cursors for the win. I'm hitting Command D to grab all those. And then the arrow key and pasting. Why didn't it paste? Where did it go? Right. So copy router and then do this. Here we go. One more time. Back it out. Paste. So that it is router.get, router.post, router.put, router.delete, Everything is working great. I'm not changing anything inside of there. I'm just changing these to use that router. And then the final step is at the bottom, I export that. So module.exports, plural. Why is that not picking up? Exports equals router, okay? So module exports equals router. If I've done that, it should all just work, okay? We've taken that router, we've kicked it out the door so that we can use it, which means back to server. Delete all of this. It is now super clean, okay? And then up here, we need to import that. So I'm going to say to-do router, okay? Because that's what this is. It's the to-do router. And I'm going to require that file, okay? /source /routes /to-do. Excellent. Learn to type, Dave. There we go. And we're off. We bring these in as middleware so that they get merged with everything else. So right here we say .use, and this is the interesting part. So I need to go back and make a change because I want all of these routes to exist under /API, okay? Anytime we hit /API, we're going to use the to-do router, okay? It's going to go and look in there. It's going to find the file that it needs. It's going to be good. This is not going to work because, again, I need to change something. Right now, this API is being added to the start of all these. So it would be kind of like this, where we have API/API/to-do. That's not what we want. So we need to get rid of all those. Again, multiple cursors, just like this. Brilliant. Okay. So now, whenever it hits /API, it's going to go and look in this file and find the part that comes next, whatever that looks like. Okay. I can go over here. I can clear this out. Where is that? The little eraser icon. Fire it. Exactly the same. 204. I can go over here, clear it, run it. Exactly the same. Buy milk, please. Right? Run it. There we go. Okay. So we have all that just like this. Everything is working really good. And at this point, we have a really lean app. Okay. We started out with very little. We only imported what we needed with Express, right? A lot of people will add NodeMon and body parser and all that good stuff. We didn't need that. That's all included for us using the newer versions of Node and the newer versions of Express. And then we built up our server. Along the way, we added Bruno to help us with testing the API. And then we moved everything into its own file. And we are in really good shape to clean out this object and use whatever is coming from the database, which happens in the next video. But before I do that, we need to commit one more time. So back over here, git status, just like this, git add dot git status, just so we can see it, right? We have that server, we have that new to-do file, we have this Bruno file, right? So git commit -m. What is this? This is Refactor, I think. Okay. Move to-dos to own file. Brilliant. Boom. And there we are. We are in really good shape. We've committed. We've done a bunch of stuff. One line, just like this, right? We did that initial commit. We added a bunch of other stuff. We even did a little bit of refactoring already. So we are in good shape for the next step. And like I said, the next step is SQLite, which is actually going to be, hopefully, a lot easier. So if you're ready, follow me along, and I will see you in the next video.